Knit with us!
It is good for your brain! Knit every day! It will take away the pain! Knitting is fun! Knitting is great!
Knitting is cool!
I can hardly wait! Come knit with us! Hey!
Hi.
Welcome to our first Fiber Arts Friday, where we're going to give a knitting lesson. Actually, turns out I'm going to be doing most of the teaching, but you are my fellow knitter.
Yes, I am.
And today we're going to learn about casting on. But before we do the lesson, I thought it would be fun if we talked about something fiber related before every lesson. What do you think about that idea?
I like that idea.
So I thought today we would talk about this. What is this? Do you know what this is?
Me?
Yeah.
It's,
Tell us what this is. You want to model it, or should I model it?
I'll model it, because it's
Do you know what this is made of?
Icelandic yarn.
Icelandic yarn. It's called Lopi. And when we went to Iceland, I was totally into knitting, but I wasn't as into it as I am now. Like, now I'm very interested in where wool actually comes from, the animals. And then I was interested too because I was following sheep around and trying to get their picture. But I was determined to come back with Icelandic wool, and you girls picked these out. Neon was kind of the in thing then. But,
for me and Darby.
yeah, but you found that the Lopi is scratchy. And the Icelandic folks, they make sweaters out of this Lopi, and it totally makes sense to us now that we've been, because it's kind of perpetually misty there in Iceland. So everyone's just walking around with these sweaters, and it makes perfect sense because the moisture cannot get through the sweater. The sweaters were expensive. We did go to a thrift store and I think we found 4 sweaters, because that was some travel tip I got, like go to the thrift stores and buy your sweater there. And so I was this close to buying them. I guess I'm glad I didn't, because I don't know if we would have really worn them. And that's the thing with souvenirs. I really try to think about, will I actually wear this or use this? Because I don't want to just have it to have it. So we ended up bringing home actual yarn and then knitting with it. And this is what I knit for you girls. It's a little ear warmer.
I think I helped with this part, right? Or no?
I don't think so. I don't think you were there yet. I don't think you were learning to knit yet. This is a seed stitch.
How
And then this
old
is
was I
actually,
when we went to Iceland?
this was crocheted. It was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 or 7. I don't know if you're knitting yet.
No, I learned to knit when I was 7.
Yeah. So that's our story, and now we're going to teach you how to cast on. And you'll just need needles and yarn. And if you have any confusion about what size needles and what size yarn, you can ask whoever's working at the yarn store you go to, or you can look on the label of yarn and it will tell you what kind of yarn it is, and then it will give you a number, and that is how you find the needles you need, right? All right, let's cast on. Hey everybody, I am Kristyglass, here to teach you how to cast on. I have some fairly large needles here, size 17s. I've paired it with Hometown USA Lion Brand yarn. In the color Cambridge Tweed. Beautiful. A good first project is a scarf, although that can take forever to finish. I would suggest maybe starting with a hat. But no matter what you start with, you have to learn to cast on first. So, here's how we do it. Let's say you're going to make a scarf that's about this width. For this long tail cast on, you're going to need a tail. So if this is how wide your scarf is going to be, you need 3 times that for your tail. So 1, 2, 3. Around here, we're going to make a slip knot. Wrap it around your finger and push the yarn through. Should we see that one more time? Wrap it around your finger and push the yarn through. Then you have a beautiful slip knot. That's where we're going to begin. You have this tail and your working yarn here. You only need 1 needle for the cast on. Isn't that good news? So take your needle, insert in that slip knot, and this is your setup. I am right-handed. I've heard that people who are left-handed knit a different way. I know nothing about that. I'm just going to teach you what I know. So you take your working yarn. How do you know it's your working yarn? Because it's attached to your ball, right here. So you take your working yarn in your pointer finger and your tail in your thumb, like so. And you have two, I like to call them V's. Here's a V and here's a V. There's a top and a bottom and a top and a bottom. You're going to be working with your bottoms. You go under your thumb bottom, over your pointer finger bottom, and through. And this is your stitch right here. Now you let them go to create your first stitch. Now do not pull too tight, because if you pull too tight, your very first row of knitting is going to be super hard, super difficult. You're going to hate it. So let's try that again. Put your working yarn in your pointer finger and your tail in your thumb. Now, I like to, for tension purposes, because you want it to be kind of tight, I like to hold it with these three fingers right here. I like to hold the yarn. So this takes coordination, this takes practice. Let's just practice that. Pointer finger with your working, thumb for your tail. There's your two V's. There's your top, bottom, top, bottom. So we're gonna go underneath the bottom here and over the bottom here and through. Hi, stitch. There's the stitch. Hey, stitch. Pull it, but not too tight. Now we have three so far. Let's set it up again. Pointer finger, thumb, working yarn, tail, under, over, and through. Excellent. Let's go to 10. Here's 5. Working yarn, pointer, tail in your thumb, under, over, and through. Awesome. Should we do a slow motion version now? Here's slow motion. For 6, 7, 8, 2 more, 9, and 10. Now, this tail, let's talk about the tail for a second. This is the perfect length of a tail. When our project is finished, we are going to use a yarn needle and we're going to weave this end in so that you can't see it. There are no knots in knitting. There are no snips in knitting. We keep everything nice and long so that we can hide it in the work. Now, beginning knitters and even experienced knitters often will start knitting with their tail. This is a mistake you will hate and regret. You want to be like, I hate myself. So if it's a problem for you and you do it often, I still do it sometimes. You can just weave it in after the first couple rows so that it's not an issue for you. This working yarn is the yarn you're going to knit with. Here's another tip or a trick for you that I want to share. This is some yarn from the Long Island Livestock Company, which I love. It's a nice wool with some sparkle in it. Now, when we're doing projects that have a cast on of, let's say, 50 or more, and you have no idea how long to make your tail, and it feels intimidating because there's nothing worse than casting on and then you have like 5 left and you have this much working yarn left. Now, there's a couple of creative ways around that, but none of them are ideal. So to avoid that, what I like to do is pick an increment, let's say 10, and you wrap your yarn 10 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you know that this will be more than enough yarn for 10 stitches. And if you have, let's say, a cast on of 50, then you'll do 5 times that. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 1, 2, 3. So we have 5 lengths worth. So we know that will be enough for 50 stitches, and we'll put our slip knot right here. Right here. So that is one tip or trick when you get to a project that requires many, many stitches to cast on. That is one tip for you so that you don't run out of yarn, and then you can begin your cast on. So you have your working yarn and your pointer finger and your tail and your thumb, and you go under, over, and through. So that's a little tip on casting on many, many stitches.